Last February, I committed a whole entire month, since it was the month of love, to learning new recipes for Miguel. And one of those was sopes, and I always thought they were way too hard for me to make, but they're really not. So let's make some. First, I'm preparing a salsa on the side, and you can usually do a salsa verde y a red salsa, pero we have loved this mixed salsa, so that's what I make. For the meat, I usually find this at Walmart. You can get it really anywhere you find cuts of meat. And sometimes it's labeled milanesa, sometimes it's labeled top round. It helps if you roll the meat all together and then slice thinly. You want this very thin. Next, we're going to mix up some maseca so that we can make the tortillas that are going to make the sope base. A little hack for making these up to standard would be using as hot of water that you can possibly stand. You don't want to see any dry cracks after you push on it, and if it pushes without the dry cracks or without breaking, then you know that you're good to go. I use 2 cups of the maseca, and I usually get about 12, sometimes 15 tortillas out of it. You do not have to pre-divide them or pre-roll them. This is just something I prefer to do because I'm usually multitasking and doing 10 million things at once. As you can see, I'm making the salsa as I'm doing the tortillas. I'm gonna put the entire salsa recipe in the caption. I usually mix this and then set it aside in the refrigerator to cool down. I recommend storing in a glass container. Okay, let's make the base of the sopes now. You're gonna see me test it here to make sure that they're totally fine after sitting aside for a little bit. It looked great. We're gonna press it once, and then it's going to be cooked until just under being a tortilla. I learned this hack of getting the tortilla off the plastic from my cuñada, which is a sister-in-law in Mexico, and I've used it ever since. Thank God for that one. So I'm not going to let this puff up and become a tortilla. I'm going to take it off before it becomes that. As you can see here, it's still very flimsy and it's not cooked entirely. That's for a reason, because then while it's still hot, the dough is still able to be formed. So you're going to pinch the edges, and that's what becomes the sope base. We're not done with it yet, and there's still another step, but hold on for that one. When I first did this process, I actually used a spoon around the edges because I won't lie, that burns your fingertips the first few times before you get used to it. Usually I'll make a whole entire pot of beans for the week, but I didn't have those on hand, so yes, we're going with some cans. You're going to need some mashed beans to go on the first layer of the sope. Now it's time to begin frying each sope just a little bit. It's enough to harden it up. I like to start with the bottom of it and then flip it around so that the bottom already gets crispy. Flip it around and get the edges. Then we're going to make our meat finally. I like to do these simultaneously. While I'm doing the sope base, I make the meat so that everything's hot and comes out at the same time. You're simply heating oil in a pan, adding your chopped meat, seasoning with garlic powder and onion powder. Then you'll add your onions once it becomes a little browned and cover. Once you add the onions, you're going to re-season and just wait until that meat's good to go. Now let's make up our sopes. Spoon some of those beans on there first, spread it around, grab your meat, top it with some lettuce. Then we add some crema, some queso, our salsa, and then it becomes the finished product, and you enjoy because these turn out to be delicious. My kiddos will not eat this, so what you didn't see is this whole time I also fried some of the milanesa meat. There's so many different ways to use this cut. All of the info will be in the caption. Save this and tag me if you try to make it.